When the cat's away, the mice will play. Without T's presence, Costa has taken back to back perfect scores. Yet he's not currently leading the points and still has ground to make up on Freesia. Will Silverstone be the race where he finally moves into second? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 9 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Silverstone is not exactly a secret for Formula One fans, but for viewers who haven't been introduced to this place, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side by side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, understandably, Joey, this vintage series tends to like the older version of Silverstone a little bit better, so this might be unfamiliar territory for a few of them.
You mentioned it. It is the newer version, kind of the more updated thing that we see on TV more often. But trust me, it is still very exciting, and these cars produce a ton of downforce. So turn 1 is just going to be exciting to watch the cars through the fast 1, 2, and then on the brakes there, through the more technical bits, and then always Maggots, Beckett's, and onto the Hangar Straight, one of the most iconic sets of corners in motorsport. Just a fantastic time to watch the cars through that section.
Especially these things with all the downforce they create. But for the championship, it's become quite interesting out there as we take a look at the F1 standings. Andy T still leads, but he hasn't been around for the last 2 races and hasn't shown up today either. He's helped by the drop points somewhat, but if he continues to not show up, then eventually we'll see Freesia and Costa start to streak ahead. And as I mentioned, Costa has had the 2 wins of the rounds that Andy hasn't shown up. So will he start to overtake Gernot, who's looking for a win that he hasn't seen in a long, long time? In fact, I need to check the stats to see how many years it's been since we've seen Gernot top the podium. From there on down, it's a bit of a fight between Pai and Viakainen there for 5th. But it gets pretty separated between the rest of the drivers. It's been difficult for others to find consistency this season, while Andy T has just been up at the front, slaughtering everybody essentially with a bunch of perfect scores until he decided to leave. We also have an F2 championship, though, and that is actually pretty exciting up at the top.
You're right. The top 3 are only separated by 3 points. Currently, Keith Herner leads the way there. Jason Clapper only a single point behind, and then Olivier Verhagen there only 3 points behind in 3rd. And you know what? Include Miguel Moreland in there because he is only 10 points out of the lead. So it's really a fight for these top 4 that are packed very, very closely together. Can't forget about Kirk Clapper there in 5th place, battling with Barry West. Those 2 are always seem to be on the racetrack together as well. And then things a little bit further down, JF Godin, Jack David Spickett, who I see on timing and scoring, will be scoring points today. And then Bjorn Ackerman and Rolly Wallbank round out the top 10 in the F2 points.
Now, if you're new to this series, we've got our race details handy for you to give you just a quick rough introduction. It's going to be 18 laps for this round 9 out of 12. It's an open setup series, but the good news is it's a very close-knit community, and there's not really a lot of secrets about the setups of the car. Some do keep a few things close to their chest, but they're very inviting to people to try and bring them in. They don't have a spare car if they get any sort of damage, and they have some drive-through and disqualification penalties if they go off track too much. Got to watch out for that in a modern Grand Prix track. Looks like qualifying is finished up, so let's go through our starting grid. And Topi Kortaniemi has taken the pole. Juan Costa is going to start second, so he might have a challenge with that Finn there on the front row. Gernot Frische, though, starting from third today. Phil Reed will be P4, as Nick Thyssen will start fifth, and Kimmo Viekainen P6. Then it's Juho Raina in the seventh position, and Ove Traingrade was able to qualify in eighth. Nathan Finnegan, P9, is followed by Jack David Spickett with an excellent qualifying for him, top split in the top 10.
Julian Floret there in 11th. Olivier Verhagen in that F2 championship here in 12th place. Tomas Bartfai, 13th. Matthew Ponto, 14th. Jakob Obraslak there in the 15th spot. Dylan Freckleton, Kevin Binkley, and Jason Clapper starting from the back of this 18-car field.
Cars are already gridding up. It's, as I mentioned, top split out of 2. That we are seeing here today. Only 18 out there on the track, but it tends to be fierce competition in the upper split of Lotus 79. We're looking at, I actually don't have the SOF in front of me, but it looks like it should be around in the mid 3Ks, maybe high 3Ks. So it is pretty stacked here. Now, it is only 69 Fahrenheit on the track surface, so it's actually pretty cool out there, and the drivers will have to make sure that they're careful about getting the tires up to temperature. Looks like everybody is gridded up, so the engines now start to rev as the lights come up here for round 9, and the green flag is out off the line. It's a horrible start for Gernot Frische, but it looks like he's able to pick it up in the second half. Nick Thyssen absolutely blasting past both Viekainen and Phil Reed. He's going to move himself into fourth through the first few corners as they hit the first braking zone.
3 wide, a little bit further in the back of the pack, and one thing to watch out for with these Lotus 79 machines is the tire warm-up phase. They got these little itty-bitty front tires and a lot of understeer on the first lap.
Glad to see everybody make it through Village fine. Tend to see some accidents in there on the first lap at this track, but Kortaniemi continues to lead Costa. Frische has dropped off a little bit due to that poor start, but not a lot. He's gathering himself up now, but look at this fight between Thyssen and Phil Reed. Nick has really stole a blinder on those behind him.
Yeah, Nick Thyssen, a good start, up a spot and already on the back of Gernot Frische. You mentioned Gernot did not have the best of starts, but this kind of seems to be his thing, is just get rolling and he gets faster as the race goes on.
Yeah, that's bad news for Costa and Kortaniemi. Gernot could be a serious threat if he can hold on to them. As we watch Costa chase Kortaniemi, the winner of the last 2 rounds. Juan Mi is trying to make it a 3-peat here, but Kortaniemi is typically pretty fast every time he shows up. So this is going to be a right battle here up at the front between 3 titans of this car.
And it's all single file down the hangar straight for the first time. Nobody really poking out, making any moves. Still Topi Kortaniemi leading the field out front, but I tell you what, Joe, Juan Costa is definitely in his tire tracks, not letting go one bit.
No, he's making sure to keep him honest here as we switch over to Ove Traingrade. Bit of a 3-way battle. He's got Raina and Viekainen right there. Somebody off in the background. That's Tomas Bartfai, unfortunately, with a big spin. I'm not sure if he actually caught the wall there, so it looks like he'll be able to get it going.
Yeah, and he did make contact with the wall with his left rear. I don't know if he's got damage. He is back going on the racetrack, but Tomas Bartfai just a solo car spin coming out onto the front straightaway.
Out onto the Wellington straight. You can see this string of cars already spreading pretty far apart there in the mid-pack here and only on the second lap of this race. So hopefully we'll see some action out there. Or is everybody going to be settling in? Oberslak is our latest to have issues. He spun out coming into Brooklands, it looks like, and gets the car back onto the circuit. But we continue to watch this battle in the mid-pack with Viakainen actually running away a little bit from this pair.
It's definitely, you call it, yeah, Viakainen running away, but it's Ove Trengrade applying the pressure to Juho Rainen. I do think this is our closest battle as they go through Maggots, Beckett's. This is one of the coolest sections in all of motorsports when you have these high downforce machines.
Yeah, really is impressive to witness. And onto the hangar straight. This is pretty close here from Trengrade. They punch a big hole in the air, but doesn't look like quite big enough of one this time as they come into Stowe. Not going to be able to overtake Juho this time. And he'll continue to keep him in his sights, at least for the time being, as they weave through Club and finish off the lap once again.
Passing can be a little bit difficult with the aero wash here, but I think one benefit of this circuit, Joe, is how wide it is. So you can make pretty big lunges that kind of catch people off guard.
We'll see if anybody's brave enough for that as we look a little farther back now to Matthew Ponto. He is down 2 positions, but we've had a couple drivers that have gained quite a few. Jason Clapper, who traditionally, as usual, did not qualify, and Dylan Freckleton is up 4 in the number 8. So certainly seeing a couple drivers that look like they've found some pace here at the beginning. There's Dylan right now. In fact, he's all over Verhagen for 11th spot.
You mentioned a really good start, up 4 positions, already applying pressure to the back of Olivier Verhagen, and seems like he's got a pretty fast car underneath him, and just have to see how far forward Dylan Freckleton can move today.
A little bit of a peek there from Dylan into Copse. We know what happens when cars try to go too wide through there, but thankfully he does not attempt to pass this time. Let's see how he can withstand the buffeting down into the Maggots and Beckett sequences that weave back and forth. Really shows you how much direction change these cars have to make through here. And great exit. I think he's got a good shot at it, Joey.
You called it a really good exit. Now using the slipstream, he's going to pop out. Drivers right here try to make this late braking move on Verhagen, and they go side by side, still there. Maybe a little bit of contact. No, they keep it clean.
Gonna fight back, coming down into Vale. Deep braking as Olivier goes a little too deep, and that's gonna hand the spot over to Dylan. Just psyched him out under braking, and that moves him into 11th.
Just a really classic job to keep it too wide, keep the pressure up, and then Olivier just overstepped the limit a little bit, and Dylan said, "Thank you very much, I'll take the position." Next up, Jack David Spickett.
See if he can run him down. You know, curiously, I was looking at our timing sheet. I see a few drivers that lack a fastest lap so far. That tends to indicate that they have not had a clean lap. So guys like Phil Reed and Olivier Verhagen at least have 4 incident points to their name already. They can't do that because at 17 incidents, they're going to get that drive-through penalty, and we've got 18 laps. So they're going to have at least 1 clean one out there. 2 of them, really.
I agree. You know, here in the sim, they do count those, the incident points, to keep you clean and on the racetrack. But I got to admit, I'm chuckling a little bit because that's my club. Those are my buddies. There's no way that I'm able to keep this thing on the racetrack.
Oh, iRacing will force you to keep it on the racetrack at some point out here. There's no arguing with the stewards in that situation as we go back to Jack David Spickett. He's not really looking behind at Dylan Freckleton. He's watching Nathan Finnegan. This is for the 9th position, and he's at least given him a good run of things, staying within about 0.3 of a second. Down the hangar straight. I think he's a little too far back, at least this time, to be able to do something, but at least he's keeping him close to his chest.
Well, and Jack David Spickett is in these F2 points, and he's starting to become somewhat more of a regular here. And I'm looking at that number plate, Joe. You've taught me about this. Wearing the number 17 number plate. So his I rating is not what these cars are around him, and he's doing a great job inside the top 10.
And it's not even that he's got a bad I rating. He's at 2,900, so almost 3K. And that's pretty decent. That's about middle of the road for most drivers. So he's actually pretty average, I would say, if you were going by I rating. But today, he's not average on speed as he's in the top 10, the top split. As I said, with some of the best drivers in iRacing, frankly, that you get out here in the Lotus 79s. It honestly is almost a breeding ground for pro licensed drivers that we've seen compete pretty consistently over the years.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, it wasn't trying to throw them under. Like, it's just look at the quality of competition that we get here in the Lotus 79. And it adds even more to what you're saying, is that it gives these drivers, maybe with less experience, even more of a deep end to go learn in.
Yeah, you tend to step up to your competition. We're seeing that here today with a few drivers that have definitely picked up the pace since we've first seen them show up here in Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. But as Ove Trangarade rides behind Juho Raina, he's been stuck here since the beginning of the race. They've caught back up to Viekainen just in front of them. He started to pull away by a few more tenths, but it seems like they're kind of steadily reeling him in.
Been a good battle, and it can be tough as a driver being in Ove Trangarade's position, because you feel like you're faster, but it's so tough to get close enough to make that move. There's just this little bit of aerodynamic wash, and you kind of have to wait for them to make a mistake, or do what Ove is doing and just inch by inch slowly crawl your way up there.
Oh, this is curious. Gernot Friesche taking the fastest lap now. He's still in third. We haven't checked on the leaders because there's not much happening up there. It's just Topi, Wanmi, and Gernot kind of staying equidistant apart. But we keep talking about it. We always bring it up, but it always is true, and that's why we keep repeating it, is that Gernot gets faster at the end of the race. And the fact that he's now suddenly taking the purple lap makes me wonder if he's getting into his own suddenly.
I've been keeping my eye on that lead battle, Joe, and it's been Gernot catching Wanmi Costa a little bit more. The gaps, you're right, are about even between the three, but seems like Gernot's just closing it in a little bit.
This was a great run through Brooklands and Luffield for Trangarade, but unfortunately hard to pass through Luffield unless you really start it there in Brooklands, so didn't quite get it that time. Maybe out onto the hangar straight. We'll see if the number 9 can get a good run through Maggots and Beckett's.
Get this external shot and look at the change of direction these cars do. Left, right, and then hard on the gas out onto the hangar straight to get up to the top speed here on this racetrack.
Yeah, the slowest they get through there is 120 miles an hour. So they are definitely booking it. But no, just not going to be enough once again. So Ove is going to have to stay patient, hope for a mistake out of that number 18. You talked about punching above their weight class with Jack David Spickett. Raina, even better. He's up in 7th in the number 18 car, so that is pretty hefty.
I agree. I was noticing that one earlier, and Juho's holding off Ove right now. We've been covering that battle and jumping up. This is third place Gernot Friesche, finally closing it in a little bit more on second place Wanmi Costa.
Okay, so is he going to be able to get by him is the next question. It's always one thing to catch a car. It's another to pass him. Loses a little bit coming out of Aintree onto the Wellington straight, so that's not going to offer up anything down into Brooklands for now at least. Topi had stretched ahead of them by about a second. So I also wonder if maybe Wanmi made a little small mistake that we just didn't see, and that's what's causing both the gap up to the front of him and allowing Gernot to close in.
It very well could be. It could also be a slight difference in the car setup. You mentioned it earlier, most of the setups are shared between the community. However, each driver will probably go in and tweak and tune it to see it how they feel fit, and sometimes that can have a negative effect at certain points in the race.
Ooh, and they're trying to break that slipstream a little bit here, so he's starting to feel it as Costa does not want Friesche any more closer than he needs to be here during these long stretches. That's one thing that has stayed similar over the history of this circuit, is it's known for these long, fast straightaways. It used to have more of them before they really twisted it up, but it still offers good opportunities. And here is Finnegan back on Spickett, trying to see if he can make an opening there, but Dylan Freckleton has suddenly run it down, and we got a 3-car fight for 9th.
Nathan Finnegan has been close enough to make a couple looks, but not able to make the pass, and you're right. Look at this, Dylan Freckleton in this purple car, now entering the mix, and he's got a good look going down in here into turn 2. He's taking it side-by-side. Wow, what a move from Dylan Freckleton.
He must have had a bad qualifying or something, because he's been doing great slicing through this field. He's our hardest charger now with 6 positions up. Let's see if he can catch up to Spickett here pretty quickly, or if he's going to get a challenge back from Finnegan, who looks like he wants that spot back, but no, he's not quite close enough.
I think that Freckleton pulled off the perfect textbook execution of a pass there, as we got Olivier Verhagen also going side by side here with Julian Fleuret. And looks like they're going to continue out onto the straightaway. I think it's Julian having a couple little blinking issues.
Ooh, yeah, that's not going to be good, especially if they have to go side by side here through the first corner. They're getting awful close. This looks familiar, but thankfully does not wind up how we've seen that happen before, as Julian will take that 12th spot off of Olivier. Jason Clapper back there kind of waiting in the wings, hoping that maybe he could pounce on the pair of them. Let's see if we get more action coming out of Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, Jason Clapper in the ideal spot, and looks like they're all pretty much at an equal distance here going down the hangar straight. And Joe, to get back to my point about Dylan Freckleton's pass, he did a great job. As soon as he caught Finnegan, he saw an opening and took it immediately. The longer you stay behind him, the more difficult it gets to make that pass.
Yeah, we've seen that so many times, and he's managed to catch up to Spickett at least a little bit here, but he needs to get a little closer. Don't think he's going to be able to make an attempt into Village this time. Seems to be one of the more popular places to make an overtake, as long as you can stay close through Abbey and Farm there. Those fast right-left flicks that lead into it. So no dice. Maybe something out of Aintree. Ooh, big squirm from Spickett, but it doesn't look like he lost too much time out of it.
No, but each time you do that to those rear tires, it just takes a little bit more life out of them each time. And I tell you what, if you're Dylan Freckleton, you love seeing it, because eventually that car will fall off.
Hard to miss Freckleton with that bright helmet and this beautiful purple car. But Jack in the bright yellow is the target for the number 8 at this time. So as we hit the halfway mark of this race, he's got plenty of opportunities as long as he can stay glued to that gearbox. Ooh, that looked a little slow for that yellow machine coming out of Cops, but it's just not long enough of a straightaway down into Maggots.
No, but as long as he can stay close here, it's about the exit going out onto this hangar straight here. And looks like Jack David Spickett nailed that section. Really good job from that 17.
Doing exactly what he needs to do. Maybe he's slow in certain parts, but if you're fast in the right corners, then you're going to make yourself very tough to pass. That is for sure. As we continue to ride on board with the UK&I driver, now it's Topi Korteniemi taking the fastest lap back. That has been swapping back and forth. That's nothing to be too concerned about. It's pretty normal for these cars to get faster as the laps go on and the weight of the fuel burns off. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, is we may want to get back to P2, because Freesia has cut it down once again. Costa does look like he's struggling a bit. He continues to lose just a little bit at a time off of Topi.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Joe. And now that we're past halfway in the race, I think that Gernot, he needs to start putting a little bit of pressure on Juanmi Costa if he wants to go up and claim this race victory today.
Exactly, and that's what I wonder. Is he actually faster than both Juanmi and Topi? Because we probably don't have a true sense of his pace right now with him being stuck behind that number 3 machine. It could be this is his maximum pace, but maybe he's being held up here, and if he can get by, then that'll answer a few of those questions as they once again weave back and forth through Maggots and Beckett's out of Chapel. Flat out blasting these cars as they come onto the hangar straight, and he is going to pull up on him. This looks pretty close, but just a little bit too far away. Ooh, he's still going to show himself in the mirrors. He's trying to get into the head of Costa.
Yeah, but this next corner, he's taken a look a couple times. We'll see him. He pokes the nose again, but wisely tucks back in line. Joe, I think the setup down the hangar straight might be his best opportunity into that tight chicane, though, not necessarily off of the hangar straight.
For those unfamiliar with this series, the reason we're making such a big deal out of Gernot, he's the winningest driver in this series. He has the most championships of anybody in the Grand Prix, Sunday Grand Prix series, and has really shown himself over the years. It's just, he's kind of, I don't want to say gone into his twilight years here, Joey, but it's been a lull for him for maybe about the past 3 years in this car.
Well, and I feel a little guilty because whenever I get to interview him, I kind of egg him on a little bit, seeing when we're going to get him back on top. And actually, Jack David Spickett just made a mistake, and that's going to promote Dylan Freckleton up into that 9th spot. And little bit of a mistake out of the brake zone. On goes by Freckleton.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder if we could get a replay of that one, because we were waiting for that to happen for some time. In fact, he lost 2 positions out of that move, unfortunately. So he's not been having a great time in this race. He held him off for a little while, but we saw little mistakes here and there, and that was the one that finally wrapped it up. So the number 17 getting shuffled down into 11th, at least for now, as we continue to watch Costa versus Freesia here. It looks like we got that replay ready. This is down into Village. Watch the yellow machine down into the braking. Talk us through it, Joey.
Yeah, so he gets through 1 and 2 okay. You see him a little bit offline already, but here is where it happens. Gets in too deep, loses the front end, and ultimately goes off the racetrack. Driver's left, has to gather it back up, and you see the 2 cars go right on by.
Just that little mistake, unfortunately. Maybe lost maybe a second there going wide, and that's all it took, as both of them snatched it up immediately. But as we continue to watch them live now, seems like Freckleton is not running away necessarily. He's kind of still being hunted by Finnegan, who is not all that happy that he had to give up that spot earlier and is trying to see if he can get that one right back. Now, as we watch this, let's stay here. I've got some information in the background. A huge thanks to our stat man, Michael the Turk. Gernot's last championship was actually in 2021. It was season 3. But interestingly, he didn't take a single win that season, we're seeing. However, his last win was 2021 season 1 at Barber, which is a very technical track and also a very undulating track. So not all that much like this one. But there you go. It's been actually just about, no, this is exactly 2 years. It was round 9 that he last took his win in season 1 of 2021. So if he can do it today, that'll be a good anniversary.
Well, and here he is. This is the closest he's actually been to Juan Mi, going through Maggots, Beckett's. See about this exit. It's so tough to keep that front end underneath you when you're following that closely.
Exactly. He can get there, but he can't get past is the problem. And that's what he needs. He needs something to open up. He needs to pounce on just the tiniest little mistake. Maybe catch him napping in a corner where he's not expecting it. We've seen him poke his nose here, but he's not going to do it this time down into Vale. Maybe into Village at some point, possibly Brooklands, or does he dare try and see if he can outgun him out of Luffield on the old pit straight and get him on the way into Cops? There's a lot of opportunities. It's just, I think he's going to have to get creative here, Joey.
He is, but I tell you what, Juan Mi Costa turned up the heat that lap. 45.0, actually 45.0 out of the entire top 3, and Gernot Freesia applies the pressure even more. This could be an opportunity here, Joe.
Oh, this is the closest we've seen him on the Wellington straight for some time. He knows it. He's pulling in. When's he going to poke his nose out? There it goes. He's looking for the inside, and it looks like the door is shut by Juan Mi Costa. Not going to get it this time, but he's still right on top of him. He tries to square off Luffield. Is he going to get the run? No, it just doesn't appear. By the way, I love that onboard shot over the shoulder in these cars. They have all kinds of cool shots on modern cars, Joey, but for some reason, the old cars with the openness of the cockpit, it feels more raw watching when you're that close to the driver.
It takes you back to the day when we were growing up and watching racing, and it's so reminiscent of that. It really is a cool camera angle shot, and Here's Gernot still in the slipstream. I think that he's not going to be close enough off of the hanger straight, but we'll check, see if he pokes that nose one more time down into the chicane.
Credit to Juan Costa in all of this. I'm not sure that we've seen him put a foot wrong in a major way, although that was a little wide out of there. He's got to be careful. That's one of the spots that you can get a slowdown penalty if you use too much of that paved runoff, and that's automatic from iRacing. He can't contest it or anything. He's got to give time back because he was considered to be abusing the track limits to gain time. Cortiniemi with another fastest lap in front of them. That's only going to mean something if you're Costa, who did not get the 2 bonus points for pole, so he's probably going to want to try and take that fastest lap bonus. This is very close for Frisha as we look at Topi, and down to the inside, into the loop. He's managing to get side by side. He's going to have the inside into Aintree and into Brooklands as he just edges him out, but he gives him space. Frisha versus Costa in a drag race down the Wellington Straight, coming back at him. Juan Costa tries to brake as late as possible. Can he do this the long way around? No, he's going to slide and he's going to spin.
Oh, terrible news for Costa, but he gets it back going. You see there's still a little bit of gap between him and Nick Thyssen. I think Thyssen's going to get by. Costa's going to lose 2 positions.
Nick going to get a surprise podium here if he can hold off Juan Costa, because surely the 3 car is going to have the red mist down and fired up to try and get that spot back in these last few laps. But Nick slides into that P3, and he's way too far away from Gernot for a second. So this is going to be a battle to see who can get the final step.
Well, and I got to give credit to Juan Mi because he left room for Gernot. He didn't squeeze him down. He didn't pinch. He didn't block. He raced side by side with him, and he just got out a little bit too wide and lost the car in the dirty stuff.
Yeah, I kind of wondered. He was trying to brake as deep as he could because he knew that was a decreasing radius corner, but it wasn't meant to be, and he had to give up the ghost. We come back to Jason Clapper, who has caught up to Julien Fleuret in the number 7. And Julian's one who has both been struggling with his internet connection, and it seems like with his track position, he's down to 13th from where he started in 11th. Jason on the reverse trajectory, up 4 spots since he didn't qualify yet again. We'll see if he's got enough speed to maybe take this one in the last couple laps.
Always fun to watch Jason Clapper in his progression through the field, and I like it. You know, for me, it's fun to start at the back and make the passes. It just provides another excitement level to the race.
Julian went way wide there onto the main straight. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't get a penalty, but looks like he was back onto the track in time, that iRacing was satisfied with that. It allows Clapper to get closer to him down into Village, but it's not going to work this time. Back through the loop. It's always interesting to me the way that that series of corners has that dynamic of the back and forth, allowing you to get tantalizingly close and maybe lure the brave into a pass like we saw from Frisha.
Well, and you also have to balance the car between the mechanical grip of the slow speed corners and then really using the aerodynamics on the brakes there with your high speed entry. When they redid this place, Joe, they kind of added a lot of variety between low speed and high speed stuff.
Ooh, he's very close. He's very close, but doesn't have the guts to make it too wide up through Copse and isn't able to shake Fleuret off the track through there. So he'll have to stay close behind to the gearbox here through Maggots and Beckett's. Hope that he can get the run out of Chapel.
And this is probably one of the best passing opportunities we've seen on this racetrack, is getting the slipstream down the hanger straight. See if you can get close enough to make that lunge in the brake zone.
Man, these long camera angles do make it look like they're a lot closer than they really are. And I'm sure the mirrors do as well. As a little bit of a wiggle there from Clapper coming out of Stowe. Just puts him off the wrong foot for a brief moment. The Northwest driver, who looks very strong here, he could have a chance coming into Abbey. That is practically flat out in these cars. Oh, and then a big blink right when he doesn't want it, and that scares him off of it.
I do not blame Jason Clapper one bit. He was lining up that pass, and as soon as he was going to make it, his competitor disappeared, and it gives you a giant, what's going on?
for those that are confused, whoa, is another slide from Julian coming out of the loop is going to slow him down. And once again, blinking badly. He pulls off to the side. Is this defense or is he going to let him through? It's defense. Clapper hard onto the brakes, coming around the outside. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get it this time. But to finish my point, that blinking is his internet connection being poor. And unfortunately, with it being poor, the sim isn't sure where he is briefly, hence him disappearing.
And jumping up, this is Ove Trengrade, still chasing down Juho Reina. Joe, I feel like we've been playing the same track for Ove, and he hasn't gone anywhere. A bit of a frustrating race for the number 9 car.
Different verse, same as the first, I suppose, here for Ove. He's going to get, are we down to 1 to go? No, we're already on the 2 to go here. So Topi's already crossed the line. So this is going to be 2 to go for these guys as well. Reina, who's been holding off Ove since essentially the very start of this thing, has lost about 2.3 seconds to Viekainen. So yeah, they're firmly out of touch with the Finn ahead of them. If there's one thing Ove loves, it's battling side by side. So when it comes to that white flag, I'm almost certain that we're going to see Ove make a dive or two.
Well, and you just saw Juha Reina. He got a lockup there going into that 3-4-5 complex, and Ove Trengrade now in a space that he can use this slipstream. I don't think he's quite close enough, but this is still a rhythm racetrack. It's all about putting your competitor off their step.
Oh, Clapper finally got by Julian, and I think it's after Julian went off the circuit. Oh, yeah, he had a big slide, but I don't know if we'll get the replay. He unfortunately disappeared in the middle of it on my screen, so might not give us all that much information as to what happened. Trengrade coming along the old pit straight into Cops, and look at him just really send it into that corner. Not much that you're doing on braking into there, even in these old cars.
No, it is a high commitment corner. Same thing. I'm the broken record this time through this entire high-speed section. Oh, huge slide from Trengrade, but look at the car control. How was he able to save that and stay on the racetrack?
Massive catch for him. That's not easy to do in sim racing because you don't feel that car breaking out from underneath you. So, I mean, credit to the Norwegian. I can't believe he held on to that as we get the white flag now for Topi Kortiniemi. And it sounds like you've been watching that gap between him and Gernot. I guess the answer to my question earlier about if Gernot chased him down was a yes, but no.
Yeah, you know, he just got held up in that battle, and Topi Kortiniemi actually that last lap set the fastest lap of the race, so he might have just been hanging out for these few laps, and let's go throw down some heaters and get a checkered flag.
Yeah, he's not in the hunt for the championship here, so all he's doing is essentially denying them points and putting a marker down in the sand about him being the fastest today in all respects. The Finn comes out of Luffield. Let's ride on board here for a bit, get a feel for what it's like to be the fastest driver on track. Now, the Baggett and Beckett sequence here. Does give you a sense, too, with how low they're riding, how tall some of these curbs are at this track. Don't want to hit them in these machines.
No, and Joe, Topi is on another level. He's a half second faster than his previous lap. He's going to set another fast lap.
And Pike from Beach. Not sure what that is a reference to, but he's certainly going to be enjoying lounging on the beach after this one because he has cruised to a victory. Being challenged briefly at the start, chased by Gernot and Nick, but victory for Topi Kortiniemi in round 9 happens here at Silverstone.
Great race from Topi. Gernot here coming home in second place. And then, Joe, you mentioned it. Nick Thyssen, podium finish.
Excellent stuff from him. Trengrade with his slip-up, lost touch with Reina, so he's going to have to settle for 8th. And Juha withstanding the pressure in the number 18 car for 7th. Kudos to him. And then Dylan Freckleton, our hard charger, up 7 positions, to finish in 8th today.
Really, really good run from Freckleton. And Clapper as well back there, up 5 positions. Matthew Ponto back here in the 15th place. Coming around the final corner, taking that checkered flag.
We only lost Tomas Bartfi, and I'm not sure if Kevin Binkley wrecked or if he just finished a lap down. But regardless, it's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Silverstone. Round 9 for the Sunday Grand Prix Series sees Topi Kortiniemi take the victory over Gernot Frische. But Gernot had to fight hard for that P2, and it wasn't with Nick Thiessen, who rounds out our podium here today. It was with Juanmi Costa, who has to settle for a 4th place. One little mistake cost him in the end. Phil Reed was 5th behind him, and Kimmo Viekainen was chasing Phil up until the very last lap and then had a slowdown penalty. He had to take 6. Juho Raina was 7th, withstanding a lot of pressure from Ove Trangerade, who wound up 8th behind him. And then Dylan Freckleton impressing us severely by taking 9th after starting 16th. Nathan Finnegan was the last of your top 10 today.
There in 11th spot, we have Jack David Spickett. Olivier Verhagen there in 12th. Jason Clapper up those 5 positions to finish 13th. Julian Floret there in 14th position. Matthew Ponto 15th. Jacob Obraslak, in 16th. And then Kevin Binkley, your first car 1 lap down, and Tomas Bartfi we saw make that impact into that, what was it, the pit lane wall early on?
Yeah.
And only 9 laps in.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't give us all that much action throughout for Tomas. Now, for Topi Kortiniemi, our winner, he didn't get a whole lot of action himself as he led every lap, but he definitely had a little pressure early on as we get ready to talk to the Finn and ask him about how his race went. Topi, congratulations. I'm curious, though, we were talking during the break about the way that Gernot and Nick were able to hang with you for most of it. Was it down to more of the slipstream at this track? Do you feel like they were kind of riding your coattails?
I have no idea because I haven't driven this car for a long time. and not behind anyone else. So I don't know. I feel I made a lot of mistakes. I struggled to get a good rhythm, but yeah, it was fun. It's a fun track.
Well, if leading every lap and taking the win was with a lot of mistakes, I'd hate to see you running a perfect race out there, because it looked pretty flawless from our perspective. What do you think you did wrong?
I think I never hit the turn one properly. You can go almost flat out if you make the turn in right, but I almost spun there. I don't know if the broadcast catch it, but oof.
Well, I guess we're always our own worst critics as we watch you in slow-mo there, just drifting the car out. Do you think you'll be back for any of it? Because without ADT here, it's kind of a bit of an open goal to try and take some of the wins from guys like Gernot and Nick.
It's a fun car, so if it's a fun track in the schedule, why not?
Well, we do hope that we'll see some more, Topi. Congratulations on the win. Fantastic race today.
Thanks, Joe.
Topi Kortaniemi, your victor, who is followed by Gernot Frische, and Joey's caught up with the former champion.
Gernot, congratulations on the second place run today.
Hi, Joey. Thank you very much. Well, it was a tough race today.
Well, and talk us through a little bit of it, because you were stuck there in the third position for over half of the race. You were finally able to get by Juan Costa there, but it took you a handful of laps to even crawl up to make that move.
It was difficult because I didn't have the best qualification run, so I started third. I knew I wouldn't be any faster than Juanmi, and Topi was probably the guy with the best speed. And in the beginning, I tried to follow Juanmi, and I was hoping for the top two positions to maybe start fighting with each other, and maybe I could wait for an exploit. But mid-race, I had to change my attitude because I saw that Juanmi was falling off a little bit, and I was gaining some pace, I think. So I had to try to involve Juanmi into a battle and try to get by somehow. And it was hard because I was running more downforce than him, so I had no chance on the straight, basically, unless he would have made a mistake coming out of the corners. And so I just had to wait for a small opportunity.
Well, you answered a question. Joe and I were talking during the break here, and I thought that you really picked up a lot of pace in the middle of this race here, and you just confirmed that. And is that when you decided you needed to get by Juan Mi? Did you think you had enough to go chase down Topi at that point?
I think I already had too much of a gap at that time point, because I think it was more than 2 seconds behind them. And Topi was, I guess, the fastest car on track, so he would have needed to make a mistake for me to close the gap and maybe hope for a chance in the end. But yeah, basically he was in control, even if he said he hasn't done a good race.
Well, honestly, from my point of view, Gernot, I thought you had the fastest car in the middle half of the race, and I'm really happy to see you up here in the second place position. I can't wait to see you standing on top of the podium again, and hopefully soon. And before I let you go, anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah, thanks for that comment. I think that's been my best week so far. So I've never been that close to winning. On the other hand, didn't really have the best chance today. So yeah, thanks to all my opponents. Thanks to Juanmi for a great battle on track again. We had 3 good races this week, and yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast as well. See you.
Well, that was Gernot Frische coming home in the second place position today, Joe.
Indeed, which looks like we don't have Nick ready to talk to us, so we're going to wrap it up here with a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, thanks to the team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race is actually going to be at Imola. That'll be a tough one to pass on. That'll be Sunday, February 19th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here on your screen. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.